So we basically relocated to Australia as students. And but this brand new house that we built, it had this freak fire accident. And our entire downstairs was sort of caught on fire. So we sort of said, okay, why don't we take a career break for 12 months, and take our daughter with us and travel and gain new experiences. So we said, okay, why don't we document our journey?
Welcome to Expat Experts. Today, I have something special for you. Not one guest, but two. I'm joined by a couple who made the bold decision to leave behind their stable 9-to-5 lives in Australia to slow travel through the Southeast Asia with their daughter. Their names are Zanesta and Nabeel, the creators of the project Tiny Detour. They sold most of what they owned, embraced lifestyle arbitrage, and built their life on their own terms while documenting their journey on YouTube and social media. In this episode, we'll talk about how they made this massive leap, challenges and surprises along the way, and what life as a traveling couple with a daughter really looks like. So sit back, relax, and let's explore this expat experience together. So, Nabeel, welcome to Expat Experts. I'm very, very happy to have you here. Theoretically, this conversation was supposed to be a 2-on-1, let's say like this. Unfortunately, your wife couldn't join us today, Zanesta, but I'm sure that you can explain us a little bit more about your shared story, because at the end, what you have in your life, it's like an expat story, but it's not only yours. So it's a story as a couple, no?
Yeah.
Welcome, and happy to have you here.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate the opportunity. As I mentioned, Zanesta would have loved to be part of this podcast, but unfortunately, our daughter has caught a bug after we arrived to Canada. So she's looking after her. But yeah, we didn't want to reschedule this. So here I am, all yours.
Well, happy and thankful that you take the time, although there is health problems at home. So
Yeah,
that's good. But I'm sure that will be a good episode, and that you can explain a little bit for both of you.
of course.
Um,
Yeah,
Maybe we should start a little bit from the beginning. I know
yeah,
that your journey as an expat started as in Australia, but you are not really originally from Australia. Where are
yeah.
you from? When it happened that you went to Australia?
Yeah,
How was your
of
life?
course. So Zinesta and I, we are both from Bangladesh. So we basically relocated to Australia as students. So we went there, did our higher education. Then we basically ticked all the boxes that you have as a immigrant. And yeah, so we spent around me 18 years and her 16 years. So we spent over 15 years combined in Australia. We were based in Sydney. And we had an amazing life. We got our higher education. We climbed the corporate ladder. We built a house in the suburbs, started a family, built a social circle, and basically life was good. But yeah, unfortunately, things sort of happened, like a few things happened in the year 2022. So yeah, we built this house in the suburbs, sort of like the Australian dream that people have with the backyard for the kids, etc.
Mm.
And but this brand new house that we built, it had this freak fire accident, and our entire downstairs was sort of caught on fire, and we were out of the property for around a little over 3 months, hopping from insurance provided houses to another. We lost a lot of items that we sort of um, carry over with us over time. Some have
Mm.
emotional attachment, some don't. But yeah, that really gave us that perspective that life is very fragile, and it's not really worth sort of um, keeping your dreams and aspirations on hold, because you really don't know what'll happen. Like a fire incident was like a pretty much a big wake up call for us. And also, the other thing, sort of living out of our suitcases for 3 months made us realize that we don't really need a lot of stuff. We accumulate a lot of things over time, and we think that we need everything. But upon reflection, we sort of realize that we don't really do need that much. So At that point in our careers and our lives, our daughter was around 3 years old, and we've always had this longing to travel, particularly around Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we sort of said, okay, why don't we take a career break for 12 months, and take our daughter with us and travel and gain new experiences. But also it we also wanted to, have a business of our own. Like we were in the corporate sector working for other companies, but we wanted to have something of our own. But the problem was that we always didn't have any time in Australia. Like you lead a pretty sort of busy life, not only with job, but also like raising a young child, and you don't really have much help around you, so it's almost like you don't really have that much time left to do any side hustle. I mean, we've tried in the past, but the sort of tenacity and time required, we were never able to provide that. Um, so we couldn't also leave our jobs and live in Australia because the cost of living was really high. So
Mm-hmm.
we came across this concept of currency hacking or lifestyle arbitrage, geo arbitrage, whatever you want to call it, where we felt like, okay, if we save enough money, we can actually live in areas in Southeast Asia, travel, put our daughter in preschools, international quality preschools over there, without having to worry about living costs. And that would free up our time to create something of our own. So we said, okay, why don't we document our journey? And yeah, that's how we came about YouTube, and we started documenting our journey. And over time, then we eventually created a business out of it, where we right now really just do one-on-ones with people like us who want to take career breaks in Southeast Asia, and we help them navigate through a personalized sort of journey for them, which includes their, finances, where to go, visas, as a family, alignment as a family, etc.
I see. Crazy. I mean, a moment of your life, like kind of break it all, no? Let's say like this.
Exactly.
It class a breakthrough, a breaking point in your lives. I mean, I think the question is obligatory. I suppose you, as a grown up, you take these decisions, and then it's just like you and your wife are adults, and then you take the decision. But your daughter at that point of time is 3 years old.
Hmm.
How was her reaction on that? Like on leaving home, and like I mean, I suppose the first 3 weeks of like jumping homes was not easy for anyone of
Yeah,
you, especially after the fire at home. But
yeah.
did your daughter take it more like a kind of an adventure, or the fact of like not having a fixed home anymore, or how did she take it?
Yeah, we were lucky in the sense that obviously her age was like she was much younger. 3 years old, they're quite like you can mold them. So instead of, sort of like just packing up and leaving one day, we leading up to our flight out of Australia, we were sort of um, telling her, look, we're going on this adventure. We're going to be visiting all these different countries. We're to tell her what countries mean, on all those sort of stuff. So she then eventually became quite excited. But you are right. Obviously, if we were just us as adults, it's much easier. But as with a child, you just never know. So we
Mm,
were actually quite worried about that. I mean, especially because she's quite a sort of social kid. So she really enjoyed, having her friends in her daycare and things like that. So yeah, so we knew that because we were working, or basically trying to build this business, and she is a social being. We made that decision early on that we will be sending her to international preschools within every country that we were going to go to, and we were going to slow travel. So we are going to set ourselves up in a country or a city for 3 months, and then build some kind of routine over there. Obviously, it's disruptive. Every 3 months, you've got to move along. So we were quite worried about that. But thankfully, she has actually thrived under those conditions. But again, it's like a coin toss, right? Like anything can happen. So we were lucky in that sense that, things actually worked out for her, not so bad.
nice. So the original plan was 12 months, but that was 2022, and now we are in 2025. So you haven't stopped traveling since then. What
Yes.
happened with there? So like you said, okay, this is working for us, and then you continued on that lifestyle.
Yeah, so we actually left Australia in July 2023, but
Mm,
all those issues that happened was in 2022, and then we sort of planned logistically and financially. It took us around 7, 8 months to get all that sorted out.
of
And
course.
then in mid-July 2023, we left. It was initially a 1 year plan, but as we were getting close to that 12 month, sort of, we realized that we liked this lifestyle and we wanted to do it for another year. And we also felt like, like with any business, you need to give it a little bit more time. So yeah, we just decided we'll do it for another year. So yeah, so 1 year then turned into two. Um, but yeah, we are now pretty much at the end of our sort of travel journey. Um, we are in Canada at the moment because my sister-in-law is getting married. So we came here for that. And then we're going to be here for a month and then we'll be going back to Sydney for a few months to sort of recalibrate to see what the future holds for us after that.
Cool. Um, just maybe out of curiosity and for the listeners to understand. I mean, you said Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia is a lot of countries. Uh, can you name more or less quickly how many countries did you visit during this time abroad?
Yeah, so in Southeast Asia, we visited 4 countries. For us, it was important that we slow travel. We sort of build like that routine. And every
Mm,
city that we lived in, our main idea was to live there as locals because we wanted to test that city to see if we could live there long term. So it wasn't just about hopping cities and,
mhm,
putting it up on Instagram. Look, I've gone to all these cities and countries. So there were 4 countries that we visited. It was Malaysia, um, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. And there were 2 other countries that we visited as part of these travels, but those were mainly because of family. So in Bangladesh, because my parents live there, and in Canada, because my wife's family is settled here.
nice. Cool. So you are also kind of on a hunting of like I was discussing this with in episode with the digital nomad, no, and the whole concept, for example, of like nomading in the idea of until you find a specific place that you like too much to continue nomading. So that's a little bit the concept in there. Um, how was this cultural adaptation every 3 months? I mean, I struggle because I switch every 3 years of country, or the last 8 years of my life has been this
Yeah,
in 3 different countries, and I'm already struggling in the idea of adapting culturally to their learning the language or trying to live as much as you can as a local, as you were describing.
yeah.
How was it for you? It's a very short time. How do you try to condense all that experience in 3 months?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, let's not, like, I'll be honest with you, like, moving every 2 to 3 months is a challenge. It's disruptive. And I personally feel that we don't want to do this forever. Like
Mm,
for us, it's always good to have that home base. And that's why that 3 month home base gave us a bit of, I suppose, grounding feeling. Um, but to answer your question, we feel 2 to 3 months is a good enough time for you to get a taster of what that place could look like for you if you were to move there long term. So the thing that we would do is obviously we would get a property, live in a location, like ideally an expat based location, because if we were to live there long term, that's where we would usually live. So it gives us a sort of feeling of what that neighborhood is like. We would put our daughter to a preschool, so that also gives us an understanding of what is schooling like. Um, we did get sick over time, so we also went to, we didn't have to go to hospital, thankfully, but we went to healthcare centers. So you get a bit of a taster of what the healthcare looks like. Obviously, we would cook, do groceries. We would also eat outside. We would go to a gym, and we would go to co-working space because that gives us a. So all in all, it gives you a pretty condensed sort of, call it like a crash course of what that place could look like. I'm not taking away the fact that, okay, if you live in a place for 3 months, you will know everything about that place, but it's good enough for us to, I suppose, make that call as to whether we would even want to live there long term.
Grasping the idea of what
Yeah,
it would be if you would stay there, no?
yeah.
I mean, you touch a couple of points that I want to ask you. I now try to organize in my mind in which order should I put it, but maybe on the more challenging approach of things, because at the end you're traveling between countries, and for us, for example, Europeans jumping from a European country to another inside of the European Union, if you have a European Union passport,
Hmm.
or that it's relatively easy. But
Yeah,
what about the bureaucracy? What about the visas? What about all these processes that I suppose it's is enough time 3 months to be preparing, or part of this job that you did during these 6 7 months in Australia before leaving was also preparing all the visas and all the paperwork to be able to do that in the future.
yeah. Look, we are lucky that we lived in Australia and then became Australian citizens. So, as an Australian citizen, like the passport has quite a lot of
Strong.
strength, like you would have
Yeah.
in European countries.
Mm.
So, most places you would get visa on arrival, like, say, for example, like those four
Okay.
countries. So, in Malaysia, we get 3 months on arrival, so we don't really need a visa for that. In Indonesia, and Vietnam, you've got to get e-visas. So you could do that online. You can tell them whether you want to stay for, 2 months, 3 months, whatever they
Mm-hmm.
allow you to stay for. In Thailand, it was a little bit different because in Thailand, they would give you, I think, 30 days on arrival for an Australian citizen. I mean, that's at least what it was when we went there.
Yeah.
And I know that they change often, so don't quote me on it. When we did, it was 1 month, and then you could get another 30 days. You could get like you could pay and get an extension. But if Thailand had given us like 3 months on arrival, like Malaysia, we would have probably lived there for 3 months. So, yeah, you could do all of these things sort of online, thankfully, and it was pretty straightforward. I mean, you just give the basic information, you pay the fees, and off you go. It wasn't a lot of paperwork for us, thankfully.
Well, that's good at least, because normally one of the most painful parts and repetitive topic and challenge in this podcast is definitely the bureaucracy and the paperwork when arriving to a place.
Yeah,
So,
no, you
and,
you are correct. Like, say I'll give you I'll give you just an
mm,
instance. Like in our case, it was slightly different because we were sort of like that digital nomad lifestyle. But
yeah,
in the future, if we are to sort of settle somewhere, then there will be paperwork. Like, say,
yeah,
as an example, say if I decide to move to Malaysia, I will have to decide which visa am I gonna take because you've got the digital nomad visa, you've got MM2H, you've even got like parents visa for kids who go to international schools. So whichever pathway you take, or even business visas, whichever pathway you take, then you'll be paperwork for that, and that would require a bit of effort. But in our case, because we were sort of staying there short term, you could navigate through that easier. But obviously, the con is that you've got to move every 3 months or two
yeah,
months.
of course. Another topic that I wanted to ask you about it, what about the financial fears at the end? No, like I suppose you were coming from a pretty comfortable standard comfortable bubble, let's say, of a 9 to 5 office
Yeah,
job with good salaries, etc., and suddenly you jump on a leap of faith, let's say, like this. You said that you had some business plan, and then of course you kind of introduced, and I suppose that also helped with a Tiny Detour project, and that I suppose it kind of revenue income somehow, some minor extra money into it. But
yeah,
um, how did you deal with the pressure of I don't know, being the two things, from a life of 9 5 to office to win your life, to suddenly being your own business
yeah,
owner and probably not working regular hours,
Yeah,
but rather when you can, etc., etc.
yeah.
How was it for you?
Yeah, so I'll break it up into two parts. One, the transition from a nine to five to a business, and then the other one is the money. So let me talk about the transition first. It was hard. It was very hard because we had never tried this before. And of course, our experience or our careers were very different to what we're doing now, which is content creation and consultancy. My job was people management in customer experience, and
Mm.
Zanesta, she was in investment banking. So from there to get up on camera, do YouTube, try to find leads, convert them into clients, and then work with clients on things like doing videos for them. And so it was completely new. So we knew what we were getting into, that this was a green field for us, and there will be quite a bit of time when we might not have any money coming in. But of course, like, when you have a nine to five job, it's quite regimented. Like, you go in, your calendar is filled, you do your job, and then you come back. Whereas and then you've also got managers, you've got senior people, you've got people that you are managing as well. So it's quite structured, and the beast that you're dealing with. Whereas here, sometimes you would go up and down, because there's no one telling you what to do. Right, you got to
Mm.
figure it out all by yourself, and you've got to take accountability, got to take responsibility. So it was hard, and uh, you know, it takes a bit of time to get used to that, but you've got to keep reminding yourself that no one's coming to help you. You've got to do it yourself. So, yeah, it is a challenge, but it there is there is nothing that can teach you other than doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, some things
Yeah.
are learned. Okay, so now let me just talk about the money. So, as I said, because we knew that we probably won't have any money coming in, what we did is we saved for the year. Like, we came up with like a monthly figure that we felt would live a comfortable life. And then
Mm.
we multiplied by 12, right? So we said, okay, we would need 4,000 Australian dollars every month, and then we saved 60,000 Australian dollars. Once we saved 60,000, then we were like, okay, what if we like it and we want to stay for another 12 months? Like, I think we should have
Which
some,
it happened.
yeah, which happened, right? So then we basically saved for another 12 months. So that's what we did. We went with $120,000 Australian dollars, and available for us. But yeah, within 6, 7 months, we started getting some money from YouTube, ad fees, ad revenue from YouTube, and then we
Mm.
started doing a lot of client work. Like, and everything sort of we stumbled across, like we didn't plan it. So our daughter was going to all these preschools, and they were quite expensive. So eventually, all these preschools became our clients. So we would basically get her to go to these schools for almost free, and then get some money from them to do a video for them,
Okay.
about the schools. And
Uh-huh.
then we were doing the same for like the accommodation, for the co-working spaces, for gyms, etc. Because if we're teaching people about, career breaks and travel, these are the main things that people want to know about. And then we started doing these one-on-ones because people were coming to us and saying, hey, we would like to do something, but we're worried about the money, or we're worried about, what will people think, and things like that. So that's when we started doing one-on-ones. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. And look, it's never easy because, when you are doing a job, like every month or every fortnight or whatever your frequency of salary payment is, like, you will get that money coming in.
Mm.
So you
Yeah.
don't really need to worry too much. You can spend, like you like, because the money is going to come. Whereas in these 2 years, we've become quite frugal, and we've become quite, um, like, aware of where we spend our money. Like, we budgeted, like, and we tracked every single expense over the last couple of years. And that has, and obviously, becoming minimalists helped as well, because your attraction towards, materialistic things reduces a lot. So then you just know, okay, what's important to you. Like, I know, my accommodation is important because I gotta live somewhere. My
Mm-hmm.
daughter's schooling is important. I have to put aside certain amount of money for my business because I've got editors and thumbnail editors, etc. I've got certain softwares I've got to pay for, and then, I've got to accommodate for food. So all of these things I've sort of figured out. Okay, this is the amount of money that I'll need. Um, Actually, we did end up spending more than 4,000 every month. We ended up around 4,500 on average.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, it's not easy. None of this is easy, but the alternative is that for us, that was even harder. Even though we weren't making any money for a long period of time, like we were much more calmer and like, happy. Whereas in Australia,
Mm.
even though we were making a lot of money, we were stressed out all the time with the bills and all of this sort of stuff. So yeah, it really depends on what you want out of life. And for us, this life meant a lot more that even though the transition from a 9 to 5 to a business owner, and even though the transition from getting a salary to having really inconsistent income and living off our savings was hard, we knew we were working towards something. And when you have like a goal and you're working towards something, it becomes a bit easier to sort of tell yourself that you have a finish line or you're working towards something.
You have some motivation behind, yeah.
Yeah,
Makes sense. It's very interesting also the part of like being minimalistic in the sense of like, I don't know, less things, no? Because at the end, if
yeah,
you're moving every 3 months, it's not that you can buy an expensive lamp and bring it to you
yeah,
every changing every. Oh, I have a very nice table, but yeah, what do you do with that table when you leave? Uh,
exactly.
sure. Um, I do have a question from a content creator perspective, maybe more
Yeah.
than from the expert perspective. Why content creation? Like, when it's the moment that you decided, oh, we start creating content in YouTube and the social media, and that become your main stream of income on the go,
Yeah.
coming from your backgrounds, which are clearly not related to video editing or I don't know, like being a designer. No, like it's a
Yeah, yeah.
it's a complete different field.
No, no, you are correct. Like the easiest option would have been that I take like a remote role in my
Mm-hmm.
previous field and my wife does the same. But we wanted to do something of our own. Like we didn't want to trade time for money. And for us, we've always been big fans of YouTube and we've loved YouTube all the time. So we felt like, okay, what is the business? Like the business is to be able to help more people like us, and in the process get fees for your service. So YouTube became the avenue where we showcase our lifestyle uh,
Mm-hmm.
through to sort of allow people to live vicariously, and then if they feel um, the inkling is enough for them, then they can reach out and then take our service. Because if you want to do this by yourself, you got to do it by like us, like make lots of mistake and potentially, um, you know, make expensive mistakes that you've got
Mm-hmm.
to, pay through funds. Whereas if you learn from someone who's already done it, like you can learn from their mistakes to not make those mistakes and do it much faster. So we never wanted to become YouTubers. Do you know what I mean? So YouTube was always a vehicle to showcase what we're doing and how we do this.
Yeah.
But the business element of it, we were quite clear always that it was this lifestyle that we wanted to sell as a service.
Nice. Have a couple of questions more before we jump to the next section,
Sure.
and both of them are related to traveling as a family. Like the
Yeah.
first one, probably more on the direction of your new lifestyle as a couple.
Yeah.
What is the biggest challenges that you find out as a couple, as you and your wife suddenly living this life and then working together? Also,
Yeah.
that's an important one, I suppose. It's a lot of
Yeah.
communication in there that it didn't happen until while
Yeah.
constantly moving. um, did it change a lot your relationship due to the move?
Yeah, it did. So the first few months was very hard, and I'll tell you why. Because when you live in a place like Australia, you live a very autopilot life, right? So
Mm.
you really don't have much space to allow for, the fights to happen or the deep conversations to happen. So a lot of those things were sort of inside, you know. And then as
Yeah.
soon as we had the space and the time, they just came out. So so the first few months was hard to adjust to that because there were, all those things that came up and you had to navigate and manage that. Then you've also got that fact of, like staying together all the time and also, trying to build a business together. You would butt heads, have different strategies of ways to do things. And because we haven't done this before, like sort of figuring out a way to respect each other's opinions and then figure out, okay, who's actually better at what, and then assigning those specialized roles to one another. Those
Mm.
took a while, and it like you had fights and you have all those sort of stuff, but eventually you get to a point where you sort of figure out your lanes. You realize, okay, I'm good at this, you're good at that. Why don't we just do that and not double up? And then the things that are big ticket items, we will decide together as business partners. And then on the family side of things, of course, the same thing, like, with the child, like how do you manage that? So yeah, it's not easy, it's hard, but I think at the end of it, I can tell you this, that the relationship becomes stronger through this process than you just leading a very autopilot life and not actually talking about the deeper things. So I'm
Mm.
actually grateful for this opportunity because it allowed us to become closer as a family. And I think we've spent a lot more time as a family together. Like, even if I take the business side away, like us just as a family traveling to all these different places, living as locals in all these different cities, learning on the go, it sort of gets you to become much more closer because it's almost like us against the world, like not in the literal
Mm.
sense, but you're sort of like trying to figure it out on the go. So yeah, you become a lot more comfortable as a couple and as a family. I think
That's
we're in a much better space than we were when we were in Australia.
that's cool. I mean, sometimes you need to pass through the rough parts to
Yes,
establish the
absolutely.
hard or settle the relationship into a harder ground. No, let's say like
Yeah.
this. And what about the experience of your daughter switching schools? I mean, how does it work? The fact of like jumping from an international school to international school, are the schools that they are in the kind of same of circle, or and then they allow you to switch from one to the other? And how does education work in general in that sense? And how does maybe also friendships and relations that she generated through this whole process have been for her while growing up here and there? No.
Yeah. So the thing that helped us the most is her age. So she wasn't going to schools, like proper schools like grade one, two, etc. She was
Mm.
in a preschool, right? So those are
Okay.
kindergartens and things like that. So a lot of these international kindergartens, they allow temporary or short-term enrollments.
Okay.
Big schools do not allow that usually. So we were lucky in that sense about her age. Um, in terms of these movements, obviously it's not easy when you sort of build friendships and then have to move. But see, she sort of figured in her head, like she figured out like this is the gig, like you do every 3 months and then you move. Um, but in the process, the positives were that she is very quick to make friends. Like she would go into a new school and then become friends like within like a day or two.
Mm.
The obviously and then in the process, she also, like all these different schools, she learned different languages. She learned Bahasa, she learned Mandarin, Vietnamese. Like she's learned a lot of these languages. Obviously, she's not fluent in them, like she forgets and stuff like that. But while she's there, she picks it up pretty quickly. I mean, I guess it's much easier when you are at that age.
Sure.
The negative thing, obviously, is that you don't build deeper relationships. You know, um, But what we have tried to do is, we've also sort of built um, friendships with the parents, like of her friends, like the closer friends, and
Mm.
we've tried to stay in touch with them. And once in a while, they'll do video calls and things like that, so that they remember each other. But yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that into the future, a lot of these relationships would probably not remain. But that's just part of the game. Like when you sign up to like a digital nomad lifestyle like this is just the part of life, like you wouldn't build like long-term relationships like you would if you were sort of settled somewhere. And this is the reason why we're going to be taking that next few months in Australia to figure out what we do next. Chances are we will try to settle somewhere for longer, like a year or two, so that you can have those things like that. She misses out, and also we miss out in terms of
Mm.
building a social circle. So we'll see what happens in the future, but obviously this was a test drive for us, like trying to figure out whether this would work. That's just that relocation would work as well, because like think about it, like if you move to a country and then you live there for over 15 years, the chances of you relocating becomes very low, because you're set in your ways, you have a social circle, so you know everything, and people like comfort. People are usually hesitant towards change, especially big changes like this. So we needed something like this to sort of even figure out whether we want to do this like a permanent relocation from Australia.
Mm. But it might be that, for example, the education systems force you to stay longer periods of time than what you might thought at the beginning also, because as you said, like bigger schools for from age 5 6, then they start requiring you to stay at least the whole year there, no,
Yeah, yeah,
like I
yeah,
assume.
absolutely. But what I'll say about education, Mark, is that, you know, what are we comparing? Are we comparing public schools to public schools? If it's public
Mm.
schools to public schools, Australia versus Southeast Asia, definitely Australia wins. But in Australia, even though public schools are free, it like the the quality of the school depends on your postcode, you know, and
Okay.
that's pretty much the
Yeah.
same in most Western countries, right? So if you want to go to a good public school, you've got to live in a good neighborhood, and that comes with high council rates, high property prices, etc. So you do pay, like, in a way. Do you know what I mean? But if I compare private schools to private schools, I do not think there is much of a difference. Like if in a private, like a good private international school in, say, in Malaysia, there isn't really much difference between that and a private school in
Mm.
Australia. The fundamental difference is the price. So Australia will be more expensive. Um, but the positive in an international school is that you get multiple nationalities, whether it's the students or the teachers. Therefore, they get a much more like well-rounded global outlook towards life and education, which you possibly won't get in, say, like a place like Sydney, even though there are a lot of sort of people from different backgrounds there. Private schools are usually quite exclusive. You've got to pay like $40,000 plus a year to put people into private schools. So most people would send them to public schools. And obviously, if I compare public schools to a private international school in, say, Malaysia, the private school would win any day.
I see. Nice.
So that was a
So
big like mindset shift for us as well.
uh, I can imagine, of course. I mean, it's a big decision, no? Like the
Yeah,
education of your children. Come on. Uh, um, I would say before just we jump to the next section.
yeah,
Do you have any one piece of advice, that big piece of advice, even if it's like I don't know, mid-career professional who is just saying, okay, fuck this, I go. Sorry, I cannot
yeah,
swear in YouTube. Um, I quit my 9 to 5 and I'm doing something different
yeah,
also, or anything deep related from your experience living abroad.
yeah. Um, I think that the biggest advice is like the one size doesn't fit all. So the first thing that someone has to be very, like, you've got to be very honest about your personal circumstances. Like, say if you're someone who, you know, has like a lot of loans and things like that, then, just quitting and just leaving is not going to solve any problem. In fact, the chances of you like having a horrible experience is much higher. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
Mm.
so I would say that the first thing, like if you really do want to do something like this, I would say that, no matter how difficult the situation you find yourself in, like say you hate your job or you hate your life there or whatever, I would tell yourself that, it's a good thing that it helps you make that decision that you want to change and do something like this. But then it also allows you the time and you have that, goal towards like the motivation. Don't just up and leave tomorrow. Plan logistically and financially, and then make that move. And as far as making that move is concerned, do not sort of sit on it, like buy that plane ticket out, like that one-way ticket, because that would ensure that the likelihood of you actually taking that flight out is higher. Because if you sit on it and say, oh, I'm planning this, I'm doing this, even if you save some money, chances are that money will be spent somewhere else, like something will happen, like an emergency or whatever. But if you buy that ticket and you're just focusing on it and you're working towards it, then the chances of it happening is much higher.
Cool. So Nabil, I will say that we jump to a little bit the mini games that I prepared for the cultural deep dive. I mean, I call it mini
Sure.
games, but at the end, it's just a rapid fire
Yeah.
questions. Hey there, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. Remember that the best way to stay tuned with the latest episodes of the podcast is by clicking on subscribe in YouTube and in your favorite audio platform. For extra content and information, follow, like, and comment on our social media and visit our website, expatexpertspodcast.com. Thank you for supporting our podcast, and let's continue with the episode. The first one that I prepared for today, it's the travel superlatives, let's say like this. So
Yeah.
basically, I would ask you to, I give you a category, and then you tell me from where do you find that specific topic
Yeah.
on the countries that you lived on.
Sure.
First one that I have, it's the most surprising or shocking food experience.
Shocking food experience. I would say I would say Thailand has some pretty shocking foods. Like you'd have like scorpions and things like that. Um, the other one in Southeast Asia, which is pretty shocking, or actually shocking to me, was they have this fruit called durian,
Mm,
which is
yeah, I
like a
heard about it.
jackfruit, right? But it's
Yeah.
very like it's pungent, and but people love it there. But it's kind of funny that when you go to apartment buildings and like in the lift, you'd have like notices
Mm.
like that say, "Do not bring durian into the building" and things like that. So, yeah, so that was a bit funny and shocking.
Nice. What about friendliest locals people?
Friendliest locals have to be Thai. Thai people are the friendliest.
Okay, cool. Most stressful transport system.
Um, Most stressful transport systems. Okay, I'll be honest. Like we haven't used public transport that much, so
Mm.
we were mainly sort of traveling with rideshare. So whether it's cars or that, I would say the stressful one is Jakarta in Indonesia
Mm.
because of the traffic. And the second one would be Bangkok.
Nice.
Because in Bangkok, like if you ever been to Bangkok and you get on one of those Grab bikes, like it's almost like you are calling death with you, like you just don't know if you will come out of it alive. But the problem is the traffic is so bad that you're so tempted to go on those bikes just to save time. But those guys, like, they would drive like crazy sometimes. And yeah, there were a couple of times when I felt like it was very like neck and neck.
Mm.
But I still got on it the next day because of the traffic. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would say in Jakarta and Bangkok most stressful.
What about the place that gave you the most wow moment? You arrive and it's impressive, and you were not expecting that.
Um, wow moments, like in terms of what, natural beauty or what?
Na- Natural
Okay,
or like a
okay.
tourist
So
spot or whatever.
so there were two wow moments. One was when we first came, well, like our first time we went to Kuala Lumpur.
Mm.
Um, like even though I had been to Kuala Lumpur before, me personally, my Zinesta hadn't. It was a very long time ago, so I really don't have much memory of it. So
I see.
the amount of skyscrapers I saw there, I was surprised because sometimes you live in your bubble and you feel like, oh, certain you make assumptions, right? Like certain countries are
Mm.
advanced or not advanced, etc. So that was a bit, sort of wow for me. The other one I'll have to say is when we went to Chiang Mai in Thailand. The laid back sort of and spiritual, I suppose, like vibe of the place, like was a bit wow for me because I never sort of felt like some place could be that chilled out.
Mm.
Because you're sort of like, if you live in a big city, like quite often on the go, like go go go. So it really had to sort of had to think and say, okay, all right, this is a bit relaxed, so you got to adjust accordingly.
Cool. Never been, so I need to put it on the list of places that too many places to visit in this world.
Yeah.
Uh, best food you encountered so far?
Okay, so best food for me, like in terms of, I would say Malaysian food,
Mm.
and the second would be Thai food.
Nice. Easiest to travel with kids?
Easiest to travel with kids? Um, I would say Malaysia.
Nice. And the last one that I have for this mini game, it's best healthcare system of the places you've been.
Best healthcare, Malaysia.
Nice. The second one that I prepared, it's more like a lifestyle arbitrage, I would say it like this.
Sure,
I would like you to compare your life in Australia versus your life traveling around Southeast area plus these two extra countries, and
sure,
decide if you what is the best approach or what do you prefer to do that, let's say like this.
sure, sure.
First question that I have, it's best value for housing.
Best value for housing. Um, I would say Da Nang, Vietnam.
Nice. Very specific.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, because I tracked everything, right? I know.
Where did you find the best food for under $5?
Best food for under $5. It's got to be street food. So, um, Vietnam has the most value for money.
Nice.
Like you can get a pho
Mm-hmm.
for like $1. Like pho is like the soupy thing they have, or
Yeah,
yeah, or even like that those baguettes like that they have, like banh mi. You can get it for $1. Yeah.
nice. Easier place to make friends? Would it still be home in Australia or traveling around?
So in Australia, it's not easy to make friends at all. Like, and
Okay.
that's like my experience having lived there for so long. In Australia, people sort of have friends within their ethnicity. So you've got like little bubbles of friendships everywhere.
Okay.
People are very friendly and cordial, but to make deep friendships, it's not easy. Um, in terms of in Southeast Asia, I would say that you would probably make the most amount of friends in expat groups, because and doesn't like it doesn't matter where they're from, like, but they are an expat, so you would
Mm.
make the most amount of friends there. And the best place to make friends, I would say, is co-working spaces.
Nice.
And the expats in all these countries are pretty much the same because they've left their own country to come here. So when they see another expat, they're more drawn towards them.
Yeah.
But if I say
Sharing
in terms of,
experience. No?
yeah, yeah. But if I say in terms of locals, because Thais are very friendly, like you are more likely to be able to make friendships with local Thais.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about play zones for kids? Australia versus the places that you find traveling around.
Right. So in Australia, you've got a lot of public parks which has play areas and things like that. And you can take your kids there for free.
Mm,
But and of course, you've got indoor play areas as well. But in Southeast Asia, y even though you do have parks with play areas, the weather doesn't always permit it. Because
okay.
sometimes it's too hot and you don't want to take your kids there. So you would rely a lot more indoor play areas. Um, so I would say the best indoor play areas in Southeast Asia, I would say, is in Bangkok.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Wasn't expecting that one.
yeah.
Nice.
Because we
Big
we
city.
took her to like indoor play areas, like a lot of them, like in all the countries, all the cities we went, and I felt like Bangkok has the most amount of it, and like yeah, they're pretty good as well.
Nice. Last one that I have, it's the sense of community while being in Australia and while being traveling.
Yeah, obviously in Australia, I had an existing group of friends, so I had a community there of my own. Obviously, I didn't have that when I was traveling, so I had to sort of create like little communities. And you know what the biggest challenge is when you are moving? People do not want to emotionally invest in you because
Mm,
they like if they are especially if there's someone who lived there already. So because they know that you're going to be leaving, so chances are you would then make friends with other digital nomads, or expats who are open to being friends with someone who's here for 3 months.
I see. Cool. Thanks a lot for all the responses on that one.
Yeah,
I will jump quickly to the only question that we haven't yet answered from the audience that I
sure.
ask to the followers of the podcast to ask, and it's
Yeah.
from Anna Hisa, which is asking if you kept your inner circle of friends during all these years or all this time traveling abroad, and if you did with some of your friends, how did you connect with them?
So is the question, sorry, I'm just trying to understand the question. So is it more
Yeah.
around the friends we made through our travels? Are we still in touch with them? Is that
I think
the
it's relating to the friends that you had in Australia at that
Oh,
point
okay,
of
okay.
time, and if you keep touch
Yeah,
with them. But of course, if you had made friends during the process, of course, I suppose you introduce people into the circle, maybe.
yeah, yeah. Um, so obviously they're separate friend groups, right? Because the friendships that I've made while traveling, um, those were quite sort of like, you're both passing by and you just know that you've got like that very short period of time together. So, but out of them, there are like in the last couple of years, we made like around four like really close friends, and we have kept in touch like through WhatsApp. Um,
Mm,
and the friends in Australia, obviously we have remained in touch through WhatsApp as well. But it's not the same because, as you know, they like in Australia, you've got a pretty sort of life that's rigid and robotic. So I know the kind of lifestyle that they have. You're gonna go to work and then you're gonna come back home. You're gonna have to look after your kid till they go to sleep, and then at the end of the day, like you've got to cook as well, and then at the end of the day, you might watch some Netflix to unwind. And on the weekends, you got to do things around the house. You got to do grocery runs and things like that. So
mm,
people stay busy with that. But yeah, time to time, I have stayed in touch with them, and WhatsApp is the best way, is the main way we stay in touch. And sometimes we'll do video calls. But yeah, it's not been as much because we ourselves have been quite busy as well, like moving as well as with the business.
And
but
parenting, of
it's
course.
mainly been through WhatsApp. We've tried our best to stay in touch with through WhatsApp. Yeah,
Yeah, makes sense. Nice. So with that done, I would say I give you a little bit the stage to tell us a little bit more about Tiny Detour,
sure.
the the YouTube channel, of course, but also what is around it. Where can the audience found you?
Yeah,
What are your projects currently?
sure. So, we are mainly on two social platforms. I mean, we have the other ones as well, but we're not as active on it. So the main one obviously is YouTube. So it's Tiny Detour. If you type Tiny Detour on YouTube, you'll find us. So we would post a long form video every week, once a week. And these videos are mainly around comparison of lifestyle in the West versus in Southeast Asia, what to expect in Southeast Asia and the lifestyle there, location arbitrage, currency hacking. Those are the sort of topics that we cover. And we would
Hmm.
do a weekly video, long form, and then obviously we would then do short form videos every other day. And then we are quite active on Instagram as well. Again, Tiny Detour on Instagram. Like you already have our details, so you can put it on the description. If you don't, I'll give it to
Absolutely,
you. Um,
we'll be there.
so these are the ways you can connect with us or watch our content over there. In terms of our projects, right now, we obviously do, as I mentioned, we do one-on-ones with
Hmm.
people who are interested, and the one-on-ones are very tailored to your personal circumstances. But we have been working on creating a community slash cohort course where we basically take through people through a 6 week cohort as to what to do A to Z if they want to take a career break to travel. um, so yeah, so that's what we're working on, and at the moment we're actually speaking to a whole bunch of people, trying to understand their pains and challenges so that we can create that course to the best of our abilities. So yeah, that's what we have been working on.
Nice. So yeah, as Nabil just said, the description, you can find all the links on the description as always, so you can check Tiny Detour on your own. Contact them if you need support about breaking your 9 to 5 job life and living somewhere.
Yeah,
But of course, also subscribe and follow their YouTube and social media channels so you stay tuned with their live and their videos. Before we wrap up, I would say that we normally like to close the episode with a fun, unexpected travel story that you had during your
yeah.
time abroad. So if you have anything to share, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, so the one that always comes to my mind because it was so funny and shocking and interesting at the same time. So like Zanesta and I, we were like sitting at this coffee shop in Da Nang one time, and Da Nang, like Vietnam in general, has a lot of motorbikes, and
Mhm.
sometimes you'll see like four people on one motorbike, and you're like wondering how do they even balance that thing. So this one day we are sitting in front of this coffee shop, like it was an outdoor place, and we saw this lady come with this fridge, like not a full-fledged fridge, but not a mini fridge either, like it's like somewhere in the middle. And then this other guy came in with his bike, and then he put that fridge on top of the bike, like the passenger seat, and then wrapped it around like with some ropes, and then off he went like it's no big deal. And that, like, it was kind of shocking, like how can you do something like, isn't that risky? But at the same time it made us wonder, like, anything is possible. Like we sometimes feel like, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, and but anything is possible as long as you believe you can make that work. That guy believed he could put that mid-sized fridge on his back and then drive away with like no worries at all. And yeah, it was like the most, like it left like sometimes certain things like lives like this print in your brain. Like I will never, well, we'll never forget this incident. So yeah, like you can look at it just as a funny thing, or you can take some lessons out of it. But yeah, it was like the most interesting thing we've ever seen through our travels.
Then thanks a lot for the sharing and the story with a little bit of let's say, paraphrasing to it, motivation tip. Nabil, it has been a very, very good pleasure to have you in the show.
Same.
Give a big hug to Zanesta and the kid, and I hope that
Thank you.
she recovers soon.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for joining. To everyone listening this episode, go and check out Tiny Detour in YouTube, but also subscribe to their channel, subscribe to our channel, rate, share our shows, and I hope you enjoyed. Until then, keep exploring, stay curious, and see you in the next episode of Expat Experts.